Okay, good morning. Hello.
Hello.
We have our fun show today because my friend Heather Lenard is on, and we're going to get to that in a second. But she kind of made her splash on the internet with a series of videos called I Ain't Doin It. So, in the spirit of I Ain't Doin It, which we'll talk to her about shortly, let's do one of our segments called Bless and Release. Okay. Bless and release. I'd like to hear you talk about your feelings on unsolicited advice.
Oh.
Now, you may take that in any which direction you want, from whom it comes, what they want to tell you to do, why you are releasing that from your life. Pick it. What do you want to?
I actually don't mind it.
You don't mind unsolicited advice?
No, because if I've started a conversation with someone, it's number one, someone I'm close to. And number two, I do take everything with a grain of salt. And how else do you find out about new stuff?
What if it's stuff you don't want to find out about?
Well, then I'll say, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
But I don't take it personally. If I'm actually sick, like in the moment, sick, in a flare, and then someone I don't know very well gives me advice, absolutely not.
Well, I'll tell you what, they'll regret saying that to you. And I mean that sincerely.
Yes.
I would be behind you like, dude, don't even start. You don't even know the rabbit hole you're about to fall down when it comes to like alternative health shit.
So that's not, I'm not great at blessing and releasing that.
Yeah.
That would
I could see that.
be an assault.
I have to occasionally bless and
sometimes
release your advice to me when it just gets a little too witchy. And I'm like, I'll think about that.
Yeah.
I won't, though. I won't think about it.
I know.
I won't think
about it.
about
The problem is I remember what I tell you, like sitting by the lake, and I'm like, I know you didn't ask, and this is unsolicited, but I think you would really benefit from just trying to be gluten-free for a couple of years with the autoimmune
I'm not
and
saying
the,
all
the
your
family
advice
history.
is bad.
And you're like, no.
Yeah.
And then 5 years later when you're like, internet.
Yeah.
I'm gluten-free and
It's
I
fair.
feel so much better. The
Yeah, well, I'm sorry about it. You
little
were too soon. You were too
hot
early.
spot in my solar plexus.
I can't do everything.
I know.
And I can't care about it all at once. So if I am already caring about some other categories, I only have so much room. But I will admit here in 2024, the year of our Lord, that you were correct about the gluten.
Thank you.
And I mean, the gluten thing came with the perimenopause attempt to get my body back under control. And it is the singular factor, I think, mostly, or at least the biggest factor that has kind of reconfigured my body in the last year. Just so upsetting.
It's terrible. I'm so sorry.
No, thank you. Thank you for at least being sorry that the advice was mean and like consequential.
Yes, but at the time I said this, it's going to be awful.
Well, yeah. My favorite food is sandwiches.
I know.
So, yeah, and I've been through all the stages of grief, of course, already. But when I want the info, though, then I'm like, everybody on board.
Yeah.
Everybody on board. When I was trying to figure out perimenopause last year, I couldn't get enough information. And then I had to sift it, which was overwhelming, but everybody tell me what your thing is, like your weird supplements and your whatever it is. Oh my gosh, this is also a perimenopause update. And I think I conjured this and I'm mad at myself and I won't do it again. But I was just having this recent conversation about perimenopause and what all my things are. And I was like, weirdly though, I don't have the hot flashes Like, that's just not been my thing. I've got all the other stuff, all the inflammation and the brain fog and the insomnia and just all the delightful buffet.
It's so amazing.
It's amazing. But I haven't had the hot flashes. So deeply has that been true. This is a true story. Maybe about a week ago. This took me 3 nights to figure out. 3 nights. I'm in bed. I keep my house cold because I like it cold. In the middle of the night. I mean, it's too cold. Like, it's too cold to have your body out of the covers. It's immediately too cold. I got so hot that I kicked all the covers off from head to toe. 0 covers touching me. And I still couldn't cool down. And then all of a sudden I was frozen. So then I got covered back up. 3 nights in a row that happened. And I'm like, how could I be hot? I've got my temperature on 68. Like,
68.
How could I be hot? Day 3, I was like, I think I'm having a hot flash in the middle of the night. And it waves over me like instantly. It runs down my back worse than my front. I don't know if that's a real thing, but all of a sudden I'm like, I could just sweat through everything. Anyway, I think you have hot flashes.
I'm real sorry. I do. And mine's accompanied, I did have this weird medicine reaction a couple of years ago, and it was sort of like a seizure, but like I was being electrocuted, sort of. And it went hand in hand with hot flashes. And my body sort of learned that trigger. I don't know. It's real weird, but every so often still
you get a little wave.
I feel like I'm being electrocuted from the inside,
sorry.
But the more I talk about that, I'll hear oh, my mom had that. I'm not a complete freak. It's not just me, but yes, I also have hot flashes.
The problem is we're the first generation truly
to talk about it. I know.
Or to even have medicine talking about it.
Right.
All of a sudden there are perimenopause experts and doctors and forums and books. And I don't think it existed. I don't remember my mom talking about this or her friends. And she says that she didn't. When I go back, I'm like, Mom, I do not remember this. She's like, because we weren't talking about it.
Yeah. It's just suffering in silence.
I know. Anyway, so all that to say, I forgot. I lost the thread of whatever we were talking about there. But
well, we welcome advice when it's solicited.
Oh, that's good.
If it's unsolicited, it can feel intrusive and hurtful, and you don't know me.
Yeah. Like when somebody's like, all you need to do is hot yoga. I'm like, all you need to do is sit down, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you, I'll pass. Sorry.
But I still haven't perfected in the moment if it's a bad time to give me advice. I don't bless it. But I can work towards that.
Same. Okay, let's do one more segment. Let's do my favorite segment that we do, which is Gen Excellence.
It's Gen Excellence. Gen Excellence. Gen Excellence.
Okay.
What's it today?
Oh boy. We're going to have to just find a cutoff space because
I'm acting like I don't know, but I actually know.
I know that you know because I also know that we could probably talk about this for the solid hour of this show. Because one memory leads to the next memory, and then it opens up this whole thing, which is, did you have, and if so, what was the telephone etiquette in your house growing up? Let's just start there, and we'll just see where this takes us. Did you have one phone, by the way?
One phone, and I have incredible telephone etiquette still.
Oh.
Listening to my children answer the phone still makes my eye twitch.
When they're garbage kids? Is that what you mean?
Their phone rings and they say, yep.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
The proper answer is, Hardin residence.
Oh, well, we're in very different zip codes than our kids live
But
in.
I actually, in my nuclear family, we did not have etiquette rules when we answered the phone. I just answered hello.
Hello.
But if I was at anyone else's house, my grandparents, aunts and uncles, or friends, and I answered the phone, it was so-and-so residence. This is Amy.
Oh.
May I ask who's speaking? Very, very.
May I ask who's speaking? What I am hoping for is that at least a handful of our listeners today are younger than us, because this is just a crazy conversation they're hearing. Everybody our age is like, oh, of course.
Right.
Like, this was how you spoke to somebody that didn't live in your home. There was a whole gatekeeping situation called a landline. And so you just had a raw dog. I mean, you just dialed your friend's number, which you had to have memorized.
Right.
Because you hit it with your fingers. Beep, boop, beep, 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 boop, boop, boop.
Except not always.
Did you put a little, what, like a little thing on the wall?
Well, no. Before you beep, 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 booped, you...
Oh, the rotary dial. Am I saying that right?
Yeah,
Rotary?
rotary.
I feel like I had those in my earliest years, but then we got fancy
Right.
and had touch buttons. But so I had all my friends' numbers memorized.
Yes.
So that's how we did that. And then you just had to talk to whoever answered the phone. Can you imagine doing that now?
No.
Like, you don't know who's going to answer. You're going to have to talk to their mom,
Or like their brother.
or
Like,
their dad.
Come on, please put her on the line.
Hey,
Like,
Jennifer, how you doing? Like, oh. How long do I have to make chit chat with your uncle? Or like with your brother. That was just a real grab bag. Also, when you answer the phone, you don't know.
you don't know.
Like, it was later in the phone journey that we got caller ID, but much later.
Yeah.
Like, much later. I feel like I was in college before we had caller ID.
Oh,
Don't you?
gosh. I think it was a little before that.
Okay, maybe.
But
We didn't have any money.
for most of our childhood, you did not know who was calling.
Absolutely no idea. If you're trying to avoid somebody, and do you remember this? Like, you don't want to talk to somebody, you are doing an avoidance game. That's my deal, avoidant attachment.
I do.
And somebody calls and your sister opens and you're like, I'm not here. No. And if she was being a real bitch that day, she'd be like, she's right in front of me, She would just disobey your like frantic, I'm not here body language. Oh my God, I just had such a bad memory thinking of it.
I have something for you.
Oh my God.
That's
what do
going to
you
help
have?
your mood. You ready?
I literally don't know what this is. You're reaching behind your chair. You're bobbling something around. Oh my God. Did you hide that when you walked in the studio?
I did.
I'm so
This
tickled.
is the UT Longhorn rotary phone that my father-in-law got his parents. It was at the farm.
Stop it.
And my kids brought it home and had it in their room forever. And then they finally decided they were done with it. And I'm always the one saying, like, get rid of your crap to everybody.
Oh.
But I couldn't.
Not that. This is a treasure.
So it's been.
Look at the handwritten phone number, like
Can
in the
everybody
middle.
see this?
Oh my gosh! Please, if you need to race to YouTube if you don't know what we're doing right now, so you can see this.
But your parents came over for dinner a couple of weeks ago, and I put it in the middle of the table. And then after dinner, we all dialed our own phone numbers.
Do you remember your original phone number?
Of course.
I think I do too. Can you? It doesn't matter. It's gone now. Can you tell me?
Oh, what my phone number
Yeah,
was?
your original phone number.
Oh, 690-9546.
Oh, that's so good.
And we didn't have to do area codes. So it was only 7 numbers. But Brad's
Let's see.
kid phone number ended in, oh no, it's the home phone number, ended in 0098. So it was like.
Oh, it was such a
0.
long.
Yes.
You had the longest of all the numbers to get
Yes.
it around. The youngs won't know what we're saying.
But
0 takes the longest. Brrr, brrr, and then 9, and then 8. I think this is my phone number, and I'm going to fact check this with my sibs. I think it was 316-686-1958.
Oh.
It's so in my bones. I can't be wrong.
anyway.
That is a real good time. Also, when you just have the one phone, okay, I can't talk about all the phones. There's so many things I want to say about the phones. This is the last thing I'm going to say.
Phone, but I'm not bringing the prop again.
That is amazing. Never get rid of that.
I'm not.
Okay. When I was in high school, so probably the girls were in middle and Drew's in elementary. All 4 of us lived in the top floor of our house. My parents got us a kids line.
So fancy.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding? It was like a rebirth. Our own phone number on our own dedicated phone, which was upstairs in the little landing between our bedrooms. Now, unfortunately, it was just the one phone for the 4 kids. And so there's still like a lot of fighting over the phone. Do you remember the phone fights? Like,
No.
get off. Get off the
sister-
phone. It's my turn.
My sister's 11 years younger than I am.
Oh,
so we didn't
God,
have,
that's so true.
we had no overlap on
But what about with your
hogging the
parents?
phone. No. I mean, if my parents said get off the phone, I got off the phone.
Well,
That's my version.
I
My
was just going to
parents
say.
may have a different version, but no.
My parents would say, get off the phone. I'd be like, 5 more minutes. And then it was never more. It was always more than that.
Mm-hmm.
Or, okay, you know what? I've got to save it because now I want to talk about busy signals. There's just so many things. There's so many things that we endured.
Next time.
But I just do want to say that the number I just rattled off, 316-686-1958, I'm pretty sure that was the kid phone. I'm going to fact check it with Drew, Courtney, and Lindsay.
Okay.
But I worked really hard at stretching the cord over the course of months
Yeah.
so that it could go under my door, which then I could shut and stretch it all the way to my bed. And I mean, it was practically like having a cell phone.
Practically, except you destroyed the cord for everybody else.
Destroyed.
Like this one still has like, when it wraps
Coils,
coils the wrong way because it's been overstretched.
Sure do.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, I see now. I got it.
Anyway, for a child with OCD to have it coiled the wrong way, just is the
remember
worst.
recoiling the phone.
Yeah, but if you hadn't overstretched it, it wouldn't have happened.
Well, if the kids would get off the phone and I didn't have to learn how to stretch it to my room, I'm not going to talk in the landing where they can listen to me.
I laid in the middle of the kitchen floor all the time.
You did?
Yeah, like I'd sit down and lean against the fridge,
I did
and
too.
then I would end up laying down, and then I'd put my feet up on the
I guess
cabinet.
I did
don't
too,
know.
but isn't that insane that we just sat there and talked on the phone with our friends in the shared living space of our home?
Like, what would you do if you walked into your kitchen and one of your children was just laying in the middle of the floor,
Talking nonsense?
talking on the phone to their
don't
friends
really know.
for 47 minutes?
Okay. Oh, I'm very delighted that you brought that phone. That is a gem.
Yes.
Okay. Let's segue in somehow. It won't be seamless, but let's segue into our guest because we have a delight on the show today. She could have absolutely had this phone conversation with us.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
our age. Mm-hmm. We've got Heather Lenard today, you guys. So this is just a friend of mine that is so dear and so marvelous in a million ways. So she didn't ever plan on becoming a comedian. She had actually quite a road up until the year she went viral, which was 2017, which we'll talk about a little bit. But she was raised in Tennessee. She was actually pursuing a career in music. She was in worship. She was married to a pastor. It was just a whole like scripted life that I know well. And then somewhere between all of her childhood trauma, which she mentions, a pretty, not just a tough marriage, but then a tough divorce. I don't know. She just dug deep and discovered that she's hilarious. And in 2017, she started going viral with these like, I would say this to her face, dumb, hilarious, nonsense videos that she did with a Snapchat filter called I Ain't Doin It. She just pick a thing and then with this just outrageous filter on her face with these huge eyes and the big mouth, and it altered her voice too, so it was high and squeaky, and she'd just pick a thing which she wasn't going to do.
Yeah.
Shave her legs. Just, it didn't matter. She's making them in her car. And I think she told us that in 2 months, she had 2 million followers.
Yeah.
So it was like that. It was explosive. And that parlayed into this career in comedy. And she started touring and doing stand-up shows. And And she's transitioning even further now, which we'll discuss. And she's got a brand new podcast called Dear Heathers that she does with her other friend, Heather. And just life has been like, in some ways for Heather, hard, in a lot of ways unexpected, and then in so many ways beautiful and new. And I think that's what everyone's story is. I relate on every single level. So our history is that we worked with the same tour team, and that's how she and I met. So that at one point she and I went on tour together. It was called Hot Summer Nights, but not that hot. And it was so much fun. We had a whole sober tour. It was a blast. And last year we hosted a cruise together, the Jen Hatmaker cruise. And Heather came and we did like a whole fun trip, and we're doing it again this next January. And I've known her fabulous husband, Stephen, even longer than I've known Heather, which we'll talk about him too. And so you love her. I already know that you love her. I think you're going to love this conversation because this is Heather right now. This is this next iteration of Heather and what she's learned and where she's going and how she's growing. And I love watching it. I love watching her story continue to unfold like all of ours do. And so we are delighted to bring you this conversation with fan favorite Heather Land. I'm just delighted to see your pretty face on that camera over there. Hi.
I know. I'm so happy to be here with you.
You're looking so cute.
Thank you.
You are just looking so cute. I'm so happy that you're meeting my friend Amy.
I know. Hi, Amy.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
We're going to get into having a friend do a podcast in a minute with
right.
you. This is something you can speak about. Let's start here though. Let's start to that darling brown man who kept popping his face into the camera.
Come on.
Your husband, Stephen. I knew Stephen before I knew you. And he was the production manager on my tour with Nicole Norman, Moxie Matters. Right. That was the longest tour I've ever done. We did 3 rounds of it. So it was a year and a half. Stephen was on all of it from the jump. And it was pretty ragtag. That was a tour bus tour.
Yeah.
Like that was 10
Full
grown
on.
adults sleeping in a moving vehicle together.
Right.
And some shenanigans. And so I know this story, of course, and I've made you tell it before in my world. So whether maybe it was when you were on the show or maybe it was Instagram Live, I cannot remember. But I would love for you to tell both Amy and whoever is listening again about how you and Stephen met, and I have some commentary as you go.
Please do.
Yeah.
Pipe in. I would gladly retell this story as many times as necessary. I love to revisit this. Stephen was also the production manager on my first tour.
That's right.
Also on a bus.
That's right.
And I actually met him the first time at your Moxie Matters tour.
Yes.
And I thought, oh, what a cute little guy. What a cute young man he is. And then when I was a little more up close and personal with him on my tour bus, on the bus we were on, I was like, okay, he's really cute. I see some salt and pepper in that hair, so he's got to be, at least mid-30s, and I was like maybe 41 at the time. And we just got to chit-chatting, like really early on into the tour, first couple of nights. And after about 3 nights in, we were like, this is a thing. And I was like, hey, how old are you though?
Yeah.
And
like just if I was wondering, I'm just curious.
Yeah, if someone wanted to know, asking for a friend. And it was like 29.
Yeah. There was a 2. The first number was a 2.
No.
The first number was a 2.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. And he may as well have been 2. I mean, I was like,
your first number was a 4.
A 4, big jump.
Yeah.
Big jump. I'm like, okay, I was like 13 when you were like coming out of the womb.
Sure.
That's a big gap. But yeah, we just fell in love. We lived on a bus together for 4 months, thinking we were hiding it from everybody. And like the last night of the tour, we were like, guess what, guys? We're a thing. And they were like, no, you're kidding. We had no idea.
Really?
We've
wondered.
lived with you also
We just thought
for
the
4
two
months.
of you like to stay up late every night.
Every single night.
That's just, you have the same sleep patterns, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
We thought we were being, so inconspicuous. And so, we got together on my tour, and we've been together ever since. Got married in 2020, and it's been a really great ride. It's amazing. Best decision I've ever made.
Wow.
Yeah.
The two of you are literally meant to be married. And it's a real toss-up which one of you I love most. And I guess the answer is just the two of you together. You're now
We're
a one
better
unit.
together, truly.
Yeah, it's one unit for me.
Yeah.
I'd like to just remind the listeners also that when Heather says she thought that she was hiding it on the tour, we have we have a bunch of the same partners. So we have a lot of the same players when we are out in the world doing a lot of our work. That if you've ever seen a tour bus, the whole middle section on both sides are 3 bunk beds stacked. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then on the other side, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
It's 12 beds,
Yep.
like little coffins is what I call them, and nobody likes that, but that is how it feels. And so what these two real sneaky folks
Go ahead.
did was, they just, because of their backs or they had some sort of reason, needed to be on the bottom bunks right across from each other. When I say bottom bunks, it's on the floor. So it's like just you get down there and you slide in.
Roll out.
You roll out, roll in,
Yeah.
exactly. And they're like, it's just the way that I sleep best, of course, is on the bottom bunk. The both of us, it's weird. And then as that bus starts humming and it just puts you to sleep like you're like a baby in a rocking chair,
Yeah.
one of the two of you would just roll right across the hallway.
Yeah, just
Right into
sneak
the-
over into my room. That's what he would do.
Yeah, it's a real wonder nobody caught on.
I mean, it's right.
Anyways, it's
Gosh,
fine. It
we
worked
thought we
out.
were
You're
slick.
married now. You're respectable.
Thank you. He definitely made an honest woman out of me. Finally. Gosh. The guy never wanted to get married, bless his heart, or have kids.
Sure,
And of course,
no.
I came with 2.
Yeah, you did.
So he really bit off a lot there, but man, he's just killing it.
He's
great
killing
dad,
it.
great husband.
I know.
He's amazing.
I love that guy.
Nothing but good things to say. Everybody loves him.
I
It's
know.
wonderful.
Who couldn't?
Who doesn't?
Who couldn't?
I know.
He's the life of the party.
He really is.
It took me about 5 seconds to fall in love with him.
I know. Just perpetual optimist, and then here I am. Just like, he kisses me, hugs me every morning, and I'm like, if you could can you just turn off all the overhead lights? Like, this is a lot for me. You're just a lot.
I know.
But I'll take it.
I know
He's
you
the
will.
greatest.
So, as you've mentioned, you've toured all over the country a lot. So many people discovered you through your I Ain't Doing It
Of course.
videos. How on earth did that get started?
How did that get started? I don't even know if I know how that got started.
How long do you have? So, how long is this podcast? Let me tell you. Let me try to give you the short version here. So, I went to Bible college because I was a good girl.
Yeah.
And all I ever wanted to do was be a worship leader, be a pastor's wife. I just want to be a preacher's wife.
Sis.
Even from
Hello.
kindergarten.
Yeah.
Like it's written in my little kindergarten book. What do you want to be when you grow up? Pastor's wife.
No.
Yeah. Like I don't know why. It's how I was raised. And so that's what I did for about 18 years. And after about 14 years of a really toxic, horrific marriage experience, I finally divorced. And after I did that, I was just, typical single mom. I'm like, broke is a joke, waiting on that child support check to come in. I mean, just the typical experience. Moved back home with my children. Literally moved in with my parents for a bit in Tennessee. And finally, was renting this little crappy farmhouse and just kind of barely making it. Living back in my hometown, which I swore I'd never go back to. And a buddy of mine gave me a job. Because, I'd been in ministry for so long. It's hard to be a worship leader when you cry a lot. It's just, they don't go together.
It like breaks the spell.
It really, yeah. It was a tough gig to keep up. So I started working in sort of like refinance. And yeah, I mean, I had no idea what I was doing, but I figured it out. And so as I'm working, Noah, my son, my oldest child, showed me Snapchat. And I found the ugliest filter I could find, and I started making really stupid videos and just sending them to like 2 of my girlfriends, and they would send them back to me. And I mean, it could be about anything, right? And so I would go sit out in my car during my lunch break, make a stupid video, be in the school drop-off line, make a stupid video, and on a dare, one of the girls dared me to put it on social media, and I was like, what do I have to lose except my dignity? Who cares about that anymore? So I posted one on social media, and people started watching it, and they started saying, I love your I Ain't Doing It video. And I looked at one of my girlfriends, and I'm like, what are they talking about? And she said, I think maybe you said I ain't doing it in the video. So I went back and watched it, and I was like, oh, sure enough, I did. And so people said, can you make more? And I was like, okay, let's think. I live in rural West Tennessee, where there's material on every corner. I bet I could pump out a couple million more. So yeah, I made some more, and then a blogger, Susanna Lewis, Whoa Susanna. Oh yeah. She got a hold of one of them and reached out and said, "Hey, can I post this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, girl, I got a real job. You do whatever you want. I don't care." And she convinced me somehow to start a fan page, and I very reluctantly did because I never wanted, being a comedian was not in my portfolio. I never wanted to do that. So I very reluctantly started a fan page, and these videos just started going viral. And before the end of 2 months, I had over 2 million followers.
That's
on
bonkers. I don't think
Wait,
I've ever heard you tell this story, to be
It's
honest.
nuts.
How
and
many
I'm
months?
just like, I'm just going to work every day, like being a normal human. But then my boss would come in, and I'm like refreshing my page on my phone. And he's like, hey, I'm like, hey, I'm busy. I got 2 jobs now. Okay. Like,
I got
go.
fans, Mike.
Thank
So,
you. But I had no clue what to do with all of this. I hired, first of all, people wanted T-shirts, and I'm like, do I look like a T-shirt maker? People, I'm a refinancer. I got a big girl job, but I figured out how to make T-shirts, and I made enough money selling T-shirts in a week to allow me to quit my job for 7 months. I had it down to the penny. I can make it for 7 months.
What?
And people were asking me to come do events, and I'm like, what? Do what? And they're like, well, comedy. Of course, you're a comedian. I'm like, I'm so not. But I took a risk. I looked at one of my best friends who ended up being my road manager because, she was a homeschool mom. And I'm like, hey, do you want a job?
Sure.
Like, do you want to get away from your kids? And she was like, I'd love to.
And I'd love for it to be something you're unqualified to do. If you have
100%.
no experience, you're hired.
Yeah, because nor do I. So let's be a
that's
team
my point.
Here. I was talking to her, and I'm like, hey, I don't think I can do this. And she said, okay, you want to keep being a refinancer and making like $5 an hour? I'm like, okay. And I said, I'm just scared. And she said, do it afraid. Yeah. And that changed my life. And that's what I did. I quit my job, and I went on the road, and I cried every night after every show for about 6 months until I figured it out.
Oh, my stars.
And that's the story. And I kept making I Ain't Doing It videos for a really long time.
I'm glad you asked that. I don't think I
And
knew
before
that.
this, you were a worship leader?
Yeah.
It's been
Were you like...
it's a meandering road.
Were
And
you
I'm melancholy.
super funny in between songs? Like, where did you hone this?
I had childhood drama is where it came from. And I guess I just let it out on my friends at dinner. I don't know. Like, maybe my kids got the brunt of some bad humor here and there. But
But
you know
truly, stand-up is maybe the hardest form of comedy. Like, it's not
it's tough,
scripted. You don't have cameras, directors, and writers.
You're winging it.
It is hot seat. It's live. It's sink or swim. Like,
It is.
you picked the hardest way to be funny.
It picked me.
Yeah.
I did not pick it, trust. I did not. I'm grateful for it. But yeah, when you're leading worship, you just close your eyes, and if people think you suck, you don't know about it.
That's
you
right.
just walk off the stage. But you need instant gratification from a comedy stage, and it is scary.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's so, I mean, I can relate as much as I understand what it's like to stand live in front of people and say words.
Right.
And they either need to work or they don't. And a live crowd doesn't lie. Like, right
sometimes
away.
You learn the hard way.
This is working or this room is dead.
Yeah.
And I hate those days.
I hate
They
them
happen.
too. But let me ask you, after a while, when you kind of do the same set,
Yeah.
and like you go do the same show, after a while, sometimes aren't you like, okay, this is you, not me, because that was funny. This is on you.
This
You've
worked
had
in
a rough
Cincinnati.
night.
I'll let you know it. So, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's so true. So let me ask you this, because you and I have worked together in some marvelous ways that I love. We went on tour together.
That was fun.
And last year we went on a cruise together, and I loved a moment that we had on that cruise. We had these women who came with us. They were sort of our people on the ship, and we were in an ice skating rink. And that's a real story. That's real truth. That's what was free that day for our group session. So it was just real cold.
Real cold.
And you stood in front of those women and said out loud that you were feeling ready to pursue a new dream, that you had something stirring in you to move away from comedy and toward life coaching. And this was still in its infancy. I mean, it wasn't even realized yet. It was an idea. But you said it out loud, and the women, of course, were just like, let's go. In fact, we called you our life coach the rest of the trip, if you remember. And we kept coming to you like, what would a life coach say to this?
Like, I haven't been through training yet. I don't know.
That
Ask
mattered
me
not.
next year.
That mattered not on that particular cruise. And
That's
so
right.
I think I'd like to hear about this a little bit. This, what was stirring in you? What was some sort of knowing that you were having, and with a pull to a pretty different space?
Yeah.
And then the courage to kind of say it out loud and move in that direction.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I had been feeling just some different things coming for me for a while at that point. And I mean, now that I've kind of shed some light on the fact that I didn't grow up wanting to be a comedian, it probably makes a little more sense that I had other things kind of, under the surface of what I wanted to do with my life. But I think I had come to such a head with my own childhood trauma. And, I'm 48 years old. I did not want to go back to school. I mean, I've been to 3 colleges and still don't have a degree. So I'm like, this is not going to go well if I go back.
You're saying it's not where you flourish.
It is not my scene.
All right.
No. So I'm like, okay, if I go back to school to be a therapist, I'm going to be 100 and still not have a degree. So I'm like, what can I do to give back, to help women? I just love women.
Yeah.
I love us gals.
Same.
And I just didn't know, how can I merge all that I've gone through in my own healing, and the encouragement that I bring from the comedy stage? How can I bring those together, but in a different way? Because and I know we'll probably get into this, but comedy, it was kind of running its course. I was getting a little worn out, and so I just wanted to switch gears. I really wanted to lean into my my melancholy side, guys. I wanted to cry again more often because I enjoy it for some reason. And so I felt like this was a good avenue. And so when we got on the cruise, and by the way, super excited for the next one coming
big
up soon.
same.
Cannot wait.
Tyler's coming this time at the
No
insistence
way.
of your husband, who was like,
Stop.
how dare you?
Wait,
And-
what?
Right.
Yeah.
He was really upset last year.
Yeah, well,
That
listen, it's
Tyler
not going to be
was
the only dude this time. It'll be
I'm
our
so
guys and Pepper.
excited.
So
And Pepper. I mean, Pepper's always got to be there.
He
It's
does.
not a party. Yeah, so on the cruise, I was like, I don't know what I was thinking, honestly. I think I just thought, okay, this is safe here. You know, there's like, yes, there's hundreds of women, but they're Jen's women. So I think I trusted them
right.
via you.
Yep.
You know, I'm like, they're trustworthy.
Yep.
So I think I just wanted to test the waters and throw it to the wall, see if it stuck, you know, and yeah, the response was, oh man, I cried, which is
Yeah,
exactly what I
I did
wanted to
too.
do. And it was a lovely, they really embraced it with me and for me. And I just was so grateful. It really gave me the courage to lean into it. Yeah. And I went to school after that.
look at you.
Well, school, you know, a course.
it's
a few
schoolish.
courses. It's schoolish. It's the most I could give. Yeah, it's been amazing. I love it. I love it.
You've spoken openly about burnout and the struggle with that, which so many of us have. What did that look like for you? And do you think the burnout you were having sort of propelled you into this new space?
Well, 100%, it propelled me into this space. Yeah, the burnout was so real, but I had been burnt out for a couple of years. I mean, you know, when you're in the real world and you're making funny videos about everyday life, that's one thing. But then when you get on the road you live on a bus, you're not really living everyday life. And so I got to a point where I felt like I was a little out of touch with humanity. And so I'm like, I don't know what to make videos about. And if I have to make one more I Ain't Doing It video, I'm going to throw up in my mouth. I cannot keep doing it.
Yep.
And I just knew something's got to give. But I felt so guilty, y'all, because so I watch Only Murders in the Building, as we do. And a couple of weeks ago, there was a scene where a guy said, "My success is my prison." And I was like, oh my God, I have never resonated more. And but I felt so guilty that this gift I had been given in comedy I felt trapped by it. And then I didn't know, like, okay, well, what am I going to do? How do I make this transition? And I felt like, because so many people love the videos and love my comedy, which I'm so grateful for, I felt like I was failing in front of 3 million people. I mean, it was so scary. And then there's the, you know, all the fear. What am I going to do? Is it going to work?
Yeah.
How am I going to make money? Is everybody going to reject me? You know, even like my sweet husband, who's never once made me feel this way, but I was like, you know, I was so driven when he met me. Is he going to think I'm a loser? Is, you know, all of these daunting, fearful thoughts came, but I was at such a place in my career where I just knew if I don't do something different, I'm going to die. I cannot keep doing this. I was dragging this thing out as long as it could go. And I was miserable, and I think probably everybody around me was too. Trying to pull. It's like trying to squeeze the blood out of a turnip. Is that what we say?
Yep.
You know, people are like, more videos, more this, and I'm like, I just don't have anything left.
Yeah.
And so I had to switch gears. I had to do something. Yeah, had to reinvent myself.
I'm proud of you for that. That's hard. Because comedy had given you a different life, and you are in full integrity when you make a change like that, when something is still working. Because
Right.
outwardly it was still working. Now,
Yeah, no one would have
inwardly is
ever
a
known.
completely different, but you were still succeeding. So that is a move that is just in full alignment, which is something to be really proud of. And I would love to hear, I'd like to hear you talk about your particular coaching style, because undoubtedly you have a lot to pull from. If you're comfortable talking about it, you've got a childhood to pull from that you turned in some ways into joke gold, but it's not funny.
Right.
And then also, if you're comfortable, you've even recently gone through this sort of hair journey, which is a deal. That's not small. It's not a small deal. And so I'm positive these, and your divorce, your toxic marriage, everything's informing probably the way in which you coach women. So I don't really know what the question is there, but if you can find it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I think that, it's interesting when you go through like life coaching courses, the goal is you become such an intense listener, which is hard for a talker like I am. And you learn how to lean in and ask the right questions. And that has been an amazing process for me and just invaluable to me in my personal life as well. But I had to really design kind of my own way because I know that when women know me as a comedian and then they come to me, they want to hear my stories. They want me to pull from my own experience. And so I've had to really find the balance in that because their sessions are not about me. They're about them. But I do find when I say, hey, I have a similar story. Would it help you if I share a piece of this and kind of what I went through? And I find that it really does help them because, look, Jen, you know this too. When you go through something in your life, the minute I walked out the door of my first marriage, the only people I cared to talk to were divorced people.
Right.
That's all I needed. Like the rest of you, I don't want to hear it. You haven't been here. So tell me, you've been through this. Talk to me. So I know that the majority of us have been through some kind of trauma. We've been through a divorce. We've been through, menopause. How many of us are going through that, which is, why I lost my hair. How can I take these situations, turn them around, and use them to help women? And I really think just having somebody else that's gone through it is such an encouragement. Even if you still don't know how to walk through it yourself, knowing you have somebody linking arms with you that's been there has been amazing. And on that note, let me just say, my mother, she's been an addict since I was a kid, and we've had stints of her sobriety and, a few years on and then off and just more stories than, you can shake a stick at. But she's been clean for 4 years, and I actually had to separate from my family for 3 years and not talk to them, which was really difficult. But so much good has come out of that in my life coaching as well. But she is doing so wonderfully well that we've actually spoken together this year. Yeah. And that has also been, just a great place to give back as well. And so I think pulling from all of these life situations I'm finding it to be so vital in a coaching scenario. Yeah, it's very important.
That gives me goosebumps. Before Amy asks you about your podcast, which I'm excited to hear about, I would just like to know how you are finding life coaching. I mean, that is a whole new lane. It's a whole deal.
Yeah.
You're not refinancing. You're not doing stand-up comedy. You're not singing Oceans at church.
Not anymore.
Like this is a big departure, really.
Yeah.
And so what do you think?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
You know what? I want to say this. I hope this lines up with the question even, but I think when you're a kid, we're also well-meaning. Whenever we see a child and we don't know what to say, we're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I think that question really gets subconsciously, it just gets in your crawl your whole life. And you're like, okay, what do I want to be when I grow up? And I don't think a lot of us leave room for, what do I want to be next? Or what do I want to be when I'm 40 or when I'm 50 or when I'm 60? And so this idea of reinventing ourselves is foreign. It was to me. Luckily, I had jumped on the comedy train and taken that big risk. So I was like, okay, I know how to take a risk in a career. Yeah. But how do I transition all this? I think that just taking the next step, whatever age you are, it really can be so scary. I think right now, as it sits, I'm just so grateful to be able to walk with women one-on-one and really in any setting and be more authentically myself, that I'm just kind of embracing it right now and just trying to hold it loosely and see where it goes. And then, hey, maybe on to the next thing. If comedy's taught me anything, it's that, hey, nothing's forever. Take a risk. It's taught me so much, So yeah, right now I'm in the take a risk with life coaching phase, and we'll see what it transpires into.
Yeah.
Hopefully more and bigger and better. And I don't know if I should say this out loud, but I have this visual of me standing on a stage and really being able to do both, to be funny, but also really tell the story. Like, talk about addiction, talk about, a crappy marriage, and now talk about a great one and give women hope, so that's hopefully the next transition, but good grief, who really knows? I don't know. I could be dead from menopause tomorrow.
Nobody knows. Amy's a podcaster now. She was just minding her business just a few months ago.
Oh my gosh. I feel like I should interview you.
Yeah. So,
How's it
she
going?
knows. She's 52, 3? Are you 53?
Three, I think.
Yeah, we have to think about it, don't we?
Yes.
Yeah. But exactly to your point, what's next?
What's next?
I know, I love that. I'm not going to, I mean, I don't ask my kids all the time, but I think there's a huge difference in what do you want to be and what do you want to do next?
Yeah.
Like,
Because
takes
we
the pressure
change,
off.
right?
yeah,
You're not the same at 53 as you were at 33.
no.
Gosh.
What do you want to be is a grave question. Can we lighten that up a little? Like,
Yeah.
how about next
Take
steps?
the pressure off.
Yeah, I like that.
And speaking of next steps,
Yeah.
your hilarious podcast with your co-host, Heather.
Others.
That's right.
You talk about hysterical, mundane things, but also some really heavy things. How has opening up this space of being vulnerable and transparent on your podcast helped you in your own life?
Man, I think it's just, they always say, like, if you can get paid to do what you love, like, what a gift. Although, let's be clear, I have not made one dime from that podcast, but it's new. Fingers
Sometimes
crossed.
that comes later. Sometimes that comes later.
But being able to be on a phone call with my best friend, which I do anyway, and be my fully authentic self, and people actually listen and gain anything from it is such a joy to me. And to not have to fit it in any kind of box. We can have a conversation where I'm crying, and then the next sentence I can be funny. That is such freedom for me. And I love it so much. Yeah, I didn't, everybody for years has been like, do a podcast. And I'm like, yeah, it's just not in me. And then all of a sudden, Heather and I were just like, should we do a podcast? And I absolutely love it. I literally, this is the cheesiest thing on living earth, literally had a sweatshirt made for me and her just with our logo. I'm just so proud.
Aww.
I would never wear an I Ain't Doing It shirt, but this, I'm like, this is my podcast. Yeah, it just feels very liberating to just get on there and talk crap. And if it's good, it's great. And if it's nonsense, so be it.
Yeah.
But I think what we're hearing overall is women are saying, I just feel like I'm in the room having coffee with you. And I told Heather, I said, for me, that is the payoff. That is the point. I want women to feel like that we are their friends, because we are. We're all going through the same thing, some version of it. And I just want women to feel heard and seen. And if they can walk into work after listening to our podcast, on the way in, and feel like they've just been with their buddies that morning, man, what a gift. I'm happy to give that gift. That's easy.
So are we. I have two things to say about that. One, that's how we do. I've been asking for a co-host for probably 3 years.
No way.
Just
Really?
knowing. Yeah. And wanting that dynamic. And Amy and I have been friends for 15 years. So we have this deep well of history and memories, and our kids grew up together. And anyway, and that's what we do. Half the time we're talking about cell phones, and the other time we're talking about our bodies. Like it's all over the place. But it's so fun to do that with a friend.
Yeah.
And that brings it down into this real authentic space where you're just talking. She's always asking, she's just like, is this it? Like, is this the job? Is the job like that?
Right.
This is what we talk about? And that That's what it is. I'm like, that is
So we
what it
talk
is.
about the same thing we always talk about. We just have a microphone in front
Literally.
of our faces.
Like-
I'm starting to
Yeah.
believe it, but it's
Right.
it seems
Yeah.
ridiculous.
She's just
know.
like, will somebody tell me if it's wrong? I'm like, this is what it's supposed to be. I told
There
you.
is no wrong.
Like, we're doing
Yeah.
it. And the other thing I want to tell you is this show did not make a penny in its first year. It
good to know.
cost
That's
a lot of pennies. It cost a
Thank you.
lot of pennies.
Right?
Didn't make any pennies. So just keep going is all I'm saying.
I'm glad to hear that,
Yeah.
honestly. And, luckily I have a really hot producer who works for free.
That is a great point.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're doing all right now. But
Yeah,
I would love for it to be like gosh, dare I say it, a job?
Oh, well,
What?
listen, just
What a
believe in your
gift.
dreams.
Well,
Yeah.
keep going. I was enthralled for 10
No.
solid minutes about whether men should take baths or not.
Stop.
Listening
I loved
to
that
two
episode.
men
So stupid.
discuss whether or not it's okay for one of them to take a bath every day.
Right.
That's good content.
You know what the gift of that is? I think it's being with somebody like Heather Lenard has walked with me through everything. This girl, she's the only person who ever looked at me and said, you have a horribly toxic marriage and you know you don't have to live in it, right?
Wow.
And this girl has walked with me through so many things and I've walked with her.
Yeah.
And so having somebody who knows you to the depths and can pull out the funny and the sad and all the things, like that's where it's at.
That is where it's
like
at.
you and Jen knowing each other for so long,
Oh,
like
yeah.
that's the gift. There's no put on. It's
Right.
it just is.
It just is.
Yeah.
I know. There's just so much to pull from. Been through every manner of thing. Every manner of thing. So I love it. I love this for you. I love your what's next, the show, the coaching. I'm thrilled for you.
Thank
I was
you.
having lunch with a friend yesterday, Jackie Garrett, and she's mid-50s, and we were talking about, I just turned 50, and I'm like, I'm now convinced. I don't think I'm having some special experience like that I got divorced and then had to recreate a life that was better than the one. I don't think I'm special. I think we just get better when we get older. Like I am
Amen
better.
to that.
I'm better
Yes.
at 50 than I was at 40.
Yeah.
I'm a better partner to Tyler than I was a wife to Brandon. I am a
Right.
better mom. So now, like when people ahead of us go, oh, honey, wait till you get hit 60. I'm like, I believe you.
Yeah,
I
can't
literally
wait.
believe you. I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think we are just getting better and more interesting. I think we're wiser. I think
Yep.
we're less distracted by bullshit and more interested in what is true and what matters.
Absolutely.
And so I'm here for it. Like,
Me too.
I like this aging journey. Oh, I mean, not the body part. The body part.
Yes,
can
let's
F
be
off.
clear.
But
Yeah. All this having to get Kybella and Botox and whatnot, like I'm going to keep doing it, but it's exhausting. I'm not quitting, but it's tiring and it's expensive. So could someone please sponsor my podcast?
see, that's right. Y'all, she needs Botox money. All right, advertisers,
Seriously.
get serious right now.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, man. It's a lot.
Okay, we're letting you go. Tell currently, where's the best places for my listening crew to follow you, to find you? What if they're interested in life coaching? What about, are you on the road? Anything,
Yes.
how to find you.
I am doing still doing some comedy one-offs. So I'm still out on the road, just so that I'm not poor.
Yeah.
I'm tired of being poorly.
Sure.
I live that life. So I am still on the road and I do still enjoy it. I'm just not touring because, my knees hurt and things like that. But for life coaching, for booking me in any sort of way, all the things, you can always go to heatherlandofficial.com. There are links to all the things. And I have a chic, like kind of bougie looking, like new website. It's kind
Fancy.
of fancy. It's very fancy. But on Instagram, I'm still Heatherland_I Ain't Doing It. Although recently in my bio, it has changed to formerly the I Ain't Doing It lady, currently just me. And I'm
like it.
really into that right now. Yeah. And
Me too.
Facebook, Heather Lenard, I Ain't Doing It. Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
We'll round those up for everybody.
Thanks
for
you
being here.
guys.
Thank you.
Always lovely to talk to you, of course. And we're going to throw down, yes, in a couple months.
That's exactly right. I
On
will
the
see you in
open
the
seas.
ocean.
I'll see you there. Amy, will I see you there?
Absolutely not.
Yes.
Listen, we have our differences, and that
is
is
one
one
of
of
them.
Yeah.
Amy,
There isn't
what
a
a
scenario
disappointment.
that I can think of this. Her going on a enclosed space with strangers. Absolutely not.
If it was,
Man.
well, the open ocean's
Hey, just think
terrifying
about
for
it.
me personally.
That's right.
Yeah.
Um,
Hey, Amy,
Yes.
do it afraid.
Oh, God, just turning it on you.
Do it.
sorry, I've not hired you as a life coach.
Oh, God, that's right. That free
yeah.
advice can just drop right to the floor.
Yeah, exactly.
I can
Yeah,
handle
I'm bad about that.
450,000 people in a music festival, but for one day.
That's right. But you don't have to speak to them or in front of them.
Right. I think the cruise is more than one day.
It is.
Yeah, you're trapped.
Yeah, you are.
I'll just come to Austin and see you.
That's
Okay,
best.
perfect.
That's best. All right.
Okay. Love
Love
you
ya.
guys. Y'all are wonderful.
Love ya.
See you
Nice
later.
to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, so that is the fabulous Heather Land. If you didn't know her before, you'll see why we love her so much. Also, if you missed it, her new podcast with her friend Heather is called Dear Heathers. And you can listen to that wherever you listen to podcasts. And I can assure you, it is the perfect mix of hilarious and heartfelt. So you'll get all of it in there, everything that we're going through at kind of this stage of life. And also all the websites that her website, her social handles, we'll round all those up for you. And you can find them at jenhatmaker.com under the podcast tab. So we'll have this whole show. We'll have linked to our YouTube channel because frankly, at this point, it's fun to watch these podcasts. Because first, look at Amy. She's adorable.
Wow.
Look at this studio. It's a beaut. And then we get to see our guest. And anyway, it's kind of fun to watch.
And I bring in random props.
Oh my God. And props. Amy brought in a bright orange phone today. And you just can't hear that through your AirPods. You know? You got to
can't
see that.
see it.
You're right. I didn't get that right. You can't see that through your AirPods.
Right.
Also, like, for example, last week or 2 weeks ago when we interviewed Stephen Colbert and his lovely wife, you brought cookies from
I
their
did.
cookbook. So
Yes.
you can't see that through your AirPods. There it is. Found it again. Anyway, just pop over to YouTube should you ever want to just check out this incredible show, obviously. Thanks for joining us, you guys. We have a really great rest of 2024 planned for you. It is charted out. It is high level. It is, as you know, the guests on the show lately have just been fire, and that's going to continue. And so we can't wait to bring them all to you. So, all right, I'll see you next week,
See you then.
and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks
Thank
for
you
joining
for
us.
listening.